Hi YouTube, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Welcome back to Misha Makes. And what we're gonna be doing today, I saw these beautiful Jennifer Behr earrings. They're called the Folly earrings. And I thought to myself, oh, we can completely replicate that. And that's what we're gonna be doing today. They retail for $258, but we're not paying that, no. If you'd like to see how we make these fantastic vacation-friendly earrings, stay tuned. All right, so this is the earring that we'll be making today. I've already made one off camera just to kind of go through the process. And the supplies that we'll need to make this earring, we're going to need our mold. Mold I got from Hobby Lobby, super cheap in the baking section. I suggest going on the off week when things are on sale, when the things in the baking aisle are on sale. We're going to need to get our E6000, posts and screws, head pins, X-Acto knife, and our little pointer tool, polyurethane and matte, gold foil, nail polish, paint, jewelry supplies, eyeshadow, like a white frosty eyeshadow, clay, a napkin, water, paintbrushes, and our drill. And this is pretty much everything that we'll need and we'll be using. And if you don't have everything here, don't worry, because you really can do this project without having all of these tools. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so we've got our clay. You want to make sure you have clean hands, especially since we're using white. This is our mold, and this is the shape that we're going to be using today. I love using molds because they make things so much easier. So I'm just going to take the amount that I think I'm going to need and make sure that it's conditioned. I'm just going to make that shape. I don't think I need that much, so I'll pull some off. I just press it in. And take some off. You don't really need a lot of clay to make these earrings. Okay. Once I feel like I've got it all flat and leveled, smooth it out just a little. I remove it. Just like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and lay that right on my tile. And let's go ahead and make the pearl. The pearl is going to be free-handed, and even though the picture has more of like a flat pearl, I wanted to do a little bit more of like an actual pearl shape. So just a little bit more dimension. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm using this as my reference for size, make kind of a ball. And I'll just work the clay until I like the way it looks. All right. That looks good to me. They look about the same. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to set that down. And if you see any kind of, if you see any debris in your clay, you can get your X-Acto knife and just kind of pull it away. We're just going to smooth that spot out. Now that I've got the size that I want, I'm just going to take that shadow. And this is just an old frosty loose shadow that I had. But if you don't have this eyeshadow, you can always use like a frosty nail polish. And you can use, I've made faux pearls with white shimmer, with like a silvery shimmer, with a gold shimmer plus the white shimmer. So just whatever you're going for. And I'm just going to take that clay and I'm going to rub. And you can also apply this with a paintbrush. You don't have to use this applicator. It's just that I have it and it's easier. And it gives it that kind of pearly luster that pearls have. I'm being very, very gentle. And I'll even just do a little bit on the back, not too much because I don't want to mess up the front. No one's going to see the back, but just so that we have a continuation of that luster all around. All right, and that's our... I'm being very, very gentle. And I'll even just do a little bit on the back, not too much because I don't want to mess up the front. No one's going to see the back, but just so that we have a continuation of that luster all around. Just going to put it right up here. And now we get to do some of the fun part, which is the painting. So we're going to paint our seashell. Let me move this out of the way as well. We're painting our seashell. And I've got two brushes. You want them to be fairly thin. Mine aren't even that thin, honestly, but you just work with what you got. So small brushes. And get your napkin, because this is when the napkin's going to come into play. Got a little water on there. Okay. I usually don't even put the paint on a surface because we probably won't need a lot of paint, but just so that you guys can see the color that I'm using, it's like a dark brown and like a camel brown. So I'll just put a little bit on my tile here so you can see. I mean, the smallest amount. And then let's do our camel. And these are the only two colors that I used for this shell. But if you wanted to do a different color, like you wanted it to be an actual like seashell, a soft pink, a cream, a little bit of brown with white. Now this comes all down to preference. So whatever you prefer. Okay. Now I clean my brush, and in the photograph along here, you see that it's a little bit darker around the perimeter. And so I'm just going to graze the top of the shell because you want to leave the in-betweens white. So you don't want to paint it. You just kind of, and you can even do this with your finger. We're just going to graze. And don't worry, because you can take away, and we're also going to be doing foil detailing on the tips. So, and then also almost like a ring, we're gonna, and now you get to be as creative as you want. So I'll just work this until I'm happy with the way it looks design-wise. And I'll go in with a little bit of this color here. And if you want to take some color away, you just get the brush cleaned up and it comes right up. Now the photo that we're using has a lot of pigment on it, so I'll just keep on working this and I'll be back when we're finished. All right, guys, so I've worked the paint to the point where I really like the way it looks. I feel like it looks like a match to this earring, and I just pretty much took away and added paint to kind of get this layered effect. And then in between the intervals, I made sure I really cleaned that up with water and just got all of the paint out from those in-between areas, because we really want to make sure that you can see the definition of the shell. And don't forget to paint the parameters. Even though we're going to be laying the gold down, you want it to be completely covered. Now that we've got our shell and our pearl, we're going to go ahead and bake according to the instructions on your clay. My clay is 375 for 30 minutes, and so that's what we're going to do. All right, let's get this baked. Oh, okay, I forgot to tell you, before we bake it, if you don't have a handheld drill, now is the time that you want to take something sharp. So something like this, or a pin, something really, really sharp. One of these will work as well. And you want to make a tiny hole right where we're going to be putting those hooks. So if you don't have a drill, this is what you want to do before you bake it, because it's just going to make your life so much easier. Same thing with the shell. I did mine straight down. And then same thing with the pearl. I put a hole, but I used a drill, so I did it after it was baked. But if you don't have a drill, this is when you want to take a small tool and just make an entry point so that it's easier for you to work in your head pins and also your screws. Okay, let's bake them. Okay, so we're back and everything's been baked. What we want to do now, we're going to work on the pearl. So I'm going to go ahead and drill my hole. That looks good. I like right there. So I'm going to just grab my handheld drill. And let me show you where I'm going to put it. You don't want to go too deep because you've got kind of like a screw on the end of this eye hook. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to take the tip. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I'm just going to dip my screw into my E6000 glue off camera. I'm just going to dip it, just the tip. And then I'm going to screw it in where I made that little hole. And that's why I don't want to go too far, because I really kind of want to be able to screw and push in a little bit further on my own. So I'm just going to twist, twist, twist until it feels pretty secure. And then that glue, the excess around the base, just gonna take off and wipe on my napkin. That's why you need to have a napkin, because you will use it for so many different things. We'll just clean that up. And then I'm gonna set that to the side so that can dry. Now we're gonna work on our shell. This gold rim area, or the gold around it, is going to be gold foil. We're gonna foil it, and that's where our nail polish is gonna come in. Now, we're gonna top coat it with polyurethane. So if you don't have nail polish, you could easily just use your polyurethane. I like the nail polish brush just because it's so little. So I'm just gonna use the nail polish. And before we do that, what I like to do with my foil, I'm gonna cut thin gold strips because it's gonna make it so much easier to apply. So let's cut out a couple of thin gold strips, and I like to keep it covered because the foil will go everywhere. And another pro tip, keep your AC off when you're doing this, or try not to be under a vent or anything like that, because it makes your foil just go everywhere. So that's a good little amount, and we can always add as much as we want. I might even add a little bit more to this one, just because I feel like the bottom isn't, it has a little bit on it, but we'll see. Okay, so now what we're gonna do with our nail polish, we're just gonna go around the perimeters. And I do a little at a time. So I'm just gonna start right here. And then I'm gonna take my foil and it really does give it that illusion that it's just dipped in gold. And we lay it right down. And then you can even get your brush to really lay it down into those crevices. And wherever it doesn't pick up, don't worry, we can always take that excess off and just lay it right over, because we're gonna top coat it anyway, so it's gonna be secured. And that's one half done, almost. Okay. Foil, see, it just moves around, it gets away from you. I'm gonna break that in half. I'm just gonna come around here. I think my AC just came back on, and I'm under a vent. Huh, what I told you guys not to do. How do you see how it's blowing all around? That's okay. Okay. And we're just gonna keep on until we're finished, going right around the perimeters. I think I'm gonna lay another strip right along here, that middle portion. And you have to really be careful with this foil because it is very delicate. Just like that. Now, you can do as much as you'd like. I'm replicating those earrings that I saw, so I'm gonna do it just like they did it. But again, you can do this in silver if you'd like. I have silver foil as well. I've got a rose gold foil. I think that would be really pretty. I have this other shell that I made, and and I was just playing around with some colors, and I think that one would look really great with the rose gold. So again, let your creativity be your guide. You can just do whatever you want. Or if there's an outfit that you've got in mind that you think that these earrings would be great for, you can kind of cater them to that look. I'm definitely going to have to cut some more, but you don't really need a lot of any one product on these earrings, which is something I just absolutely love. You don't need a lot of clay. You don't need a lot of paint. You don't need a lot of foil. Just a little gets you right where you want to be. And if you are a crafter or someone that makes lots of jewelry, you probably already have most of these items in your stash already, which is great. So let's cut just, oh, and my foil has completely rolled away. Let me grab it here. So, and I like to keep the sheets on top so that they don't, it kind of stabilizes it, and that air is really making it blow, which is so funny. Okay. Oof. Okay. I might need to go turn off my AC because it's making it really go crazy. And you'll notice if you work it too much, it will make your gold more like a crushed, crumbly gold and break apart. So depending on the look that you want to get, it's totally up to you. I find that when I lay it down in a sheet, it looks less like the crushed gold and more like that melted gold. And when I manipulate the gold foil, it looks like that kind of melted, chipped gold. Let's see if this little tool will help me. Oh, no. Oh, no. Runaway foil. There we go. Yikes. That would have been so nice if it would have laid all flat, but that's okay. Just pressing it in. And so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this piece off camera and just filling in those gaps. All right, guys, so we've got our gold laid all around the perimeters, and I like the way that looks. And they look like they're twins. Let me go ahead and hold it up just a little bit closer so you guys can see. Oops, yikes. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna drill our hole into our shell. And again, I'm gonna use my handheld drill. And by the way, this drill was super cheap. I got it from, it was a hardware store. I can't remember the name of it, but I believe I paid maybe $12 for this drill. And it comes with a bunch of different bits. And it's just been honestly a godsend for making jewelry making. So it just makes it a lot easier. It makes crafting a lot easier. So let's go ahead, and what I want to do, I'm trying to get right there where there's the most clay. And I'm going to just kind of look at my other one for a reference point because they're the same. So yeah, right. Just like that. Now I get my head pin, and actually this isn't even, well, it is a head pin, but it's part of the head pin that I cut off from the first one I used. So just if you have the bottom part, and even if you don't have a head pin, you can always use like a thin piece of wire that bends and make these pieces. So you don't necessarily have to have the screw or the head pin. You can make your own just off of things that you have laying around the house. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy these, but I believe they sell these at Walmart for like $1.99 a pack, and there's like 100 in each pack. So if you did want to invest in them, again, they come in handy. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take and I'm going to roll my pliers, and I'm just going to roll, and I'm going to make like a little eye, just like that. And I'm actually going to cut the end off because that's quite long. And you want to, and I had to learn this the hard way, you want to, when you're snipping it, put it in your hand, because it's going to go ricocheting across the room and you won't be able to find it. So learn from my mistake. That's why I like to do one in advance to see everything that can go wrong. Now, I didn't fully close it because what we're going to do, we're going to dip it in our glue, we're going to set it in, and then we're going to connect our pearl. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just see where it lands, because I do want to kind of get it down a little bit deeper. So I'm going to dip it in my glue, my E6000. I'm dipping. Okay, so I've got a nice amount of glue on there, and then I'm just going to push it down and kind of screw it in. Screw it in. And that's why I don't drill too far down. I just want an entry point because the clay will still allow you to kind of push into it. Now we're going to clean up that excess. So let me just grab something that let me grab my paper towel here. Clean up that excess right at the edge without getting any of my gold leafing off. And then we're going to take our pearl, and we're going to slip it right through, just like that. And now we're gonna close it. Just like that. See? Easy. We do want to see how it's going to hang though, because I know this one hangs a little bit off to the side, but it's actually perfect. When you put it in your ear, they're actually facing forward instead of like towards the sides, so that when you're wearing the earrings, you can see the shells plainly. So you just kind of want to play with it, manipulate it. I don't know if this one's hanging the same way, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rotate it around just a little bit. And then I want to hold it and kind of see how it's hanging. I think that'll work. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my back, my post, and I'm going to dip that in my glue. Flip it over. And I'm just going to stick it on right in the middle. And you want to kind of keep everything kind of the same. Like I did this one in the middle, so I'll do this one in the middle. And at this point, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to paint the back, because you don't want your shell earring to be white striped and then white in the back. So I'm going to just put a little bit of brown paint and we'll let those dry. All right, we'll set that to the side. Ooh, try not to make sure it doesn't touch the pearls. I mean, you can get it off easy enough, so no big deal. And then we'll do this back. I always feel bad covering up that pretty gold. And again, these make great gifts. And if you want, of course, you can go over that with another coat so that it's completely solid and it's not streaky. Just going to clean up my hands here. We'll let that dry and then we'll top coat them. Okay, so the backs are dried, and I also wanted to say, if for some reason you came through the back with your head pin, don't worry about it. What you want to do is just take a little bit of clay, slap it on there, and bake it again. And that's it. You want to make sure that you really integrate it so that it covers it, but no big deal at all. Now we're going to top coat ours. So I've got my polyurethane in matte. I also have glossy. From the pictures that Jennifer Behr has on her website, they look like they're matte because it mimics a natural Seashell. So we're going to go with matte, but if you want to go with glossy, by all means, go with glossy. I even thought about doing a top layer of resin and just really having it super glossy, super shiny. But with the resin, you do lose a little bit of that detailing, that bumpy detailing. So I did want to go with the polyurethane. So I'm just gonna, please excuse my polyurethane. It's been through the trenches. I use it quite a bit. Okay. And I'm just getting some of that nail polish off of my brush here. So we're gonna start with the shell itself. And now you wanna make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area when you work with polyurethane, and also have some kind of like a mask on. And we want to make sure that we're really going over all that gold detailing. And this is going to dry clear, so no worries. Let me just hold it down. It's trying to get away. But that's going to seal everything in, your color. And actually, I meant to say for my last earring tutorial, the Carolyn Herrera flowers, if you wanted to do a layer of polyurethane, you could, but I like mine the way they are. But I will say the backs, they get makeup on it sometimes, so I do have to clean them, but that's not an issue. But with these, I'm definitely going to polyurethane the tops because I want to seal that gold, the gold tips. I want to make sure that they don't come off. And you don't have to do the pearl. I don't think I'm going to do the pearl because that luster I really do like. So I'm just going to leave the pearl itself alone. I might maybe go back later and do the pearl glossy. That's also another idea if you did have both matte and glossy. But right now, the pearl is just fine the way it is. I don't want to make it matte. Alrighty. And so now we just let that dry. All right, so that concludes our Jennifer Behr inspired earrings. I also wanted to show you guys this one I started to make, which actually looks like an actual seashell. And it's just another design. But I knew I was going to get the most wear out of this brown set because it goes with tan, creams, olive, I mean, just pretty much everything. This one's more of like a summertime look. We'll see if I finish this set. But they always say imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery. Well, I hope these designers are truly flattered because I find such inspiration looking at all of their creations. And I'm so happy that I have the opportunity to be able to take the task on and try to make my own. So feel free to, change up the findings, change up the foil, change up the colors. It's a really great opportunity to make these earrings completely your own. I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching my tutorial, and I will see you in the next episode of Misha Makes.